Alrighty, good morning, y'all. As you can see, you should all have a half slip sheet of paper, and on that half sheet there is a section labeled bell ringer. I need everyone right now to answer that question. It is asking you, pertaining to literature, what does audience mean? It shouldn't take you but longer than 2 minutes, and I'm going to take attendance while you are doing that. All right, someone tell me just what you wrote down. What do you think audience means? Madison.
Audience means the specific group of people you're targeting.
I love that definition. Spot on. The specific group of people that who is targeting?
The author.
The author, the writer, right? So I honestly don't even think we need another definition other than that, because that was just so spot on. So today, actually, we're going to understand audience and why it's important to keep an audience in mind when we write, specifically writing and picking out good examples of evidence and the explanations that we write for those pieces of evidence. And then we're also going to, remember last week we filled out the evidence collection catalog. We're going to look at that today and do some group work. Okay, so this is, I just want y'all to kind of turn and talk with your neighbor. Tell me what's going on in this email. Is it appropriate? Is it not? Just kind of turn and talk with someone around you and tell me what you see wrong with it. So I'm going to give you about a minute to do so. So y'all may turn.
Incorrect spelling.
All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Someone from this side, tell me one problem that you see with this email.
They didn't do proper grammar in the email.
Yes, so there's some very obvious spelling mistakes, as well as what kind of language, like would you send this in an email?
No.
What might you, a text message or slang, right? So that's a first very obvious mistake. Someone from my group over here, tell me.
It's like they rushing them. It's like, please get back to me. I can't stay after on Tuesday, so you need to make that word. It's like they rushing.
That's like a command, right? Who is the person that we are sending this email to?
Teacher.
A teacher, right? Would you tell a teacher, I can't stay after on Tuesday, so you need to make that work? Would we tell a teacher that?
No.
No. So definitely we're not targeting our audience correctly, right? And last but not least, tell me a mistake that you saw.
Using abbreviations and capitalization.
Yes. And also, how did they greet? Like the greeting and like what's up? Would we tell a teacher that?
No.
I hope not, right? All right. So I also want to just show you the kind of good email that we should be pretty much modeling after. So as you can see in this good email, the person is, I was wondering if you were available. She didn't say, you need to be available Tuesday, like you have to make that work. She gave her availability. I'm available on Friday after school if that works for you, right? So it was much more just nicer and respectful for a teacher. And like, can y'all see the obvious difference from the good email to the bad email? All right, and this is gonna come into play when we really get into the rest of the lesson. But just so that we can better understand audience and what it means, I have a little YouTube video follow along that we're going to watch. It's only about 2.5 minutes. So you all have that half sheet of paper. It does go a little quick, but you should probably be able to get most of the fill in the blanks as it goes through. So just watch it and we'll talk about it afterwards, all right? So let's see if this works. I might have to come over here and play it. All right.
How to write for your audience. Before you begin writing a draft, you should consider your audience. Your audience is the person or group of people who may read your writing. Knowing your audience will help you determine what they already know, what is important to them, and how you can make your writing as meaningful as possible. You can tailor your writing to your audience by choosing a writing style that will best suit them. Style is the way your writing sounds. Just like we wear different styles of clothing depending on the occasion, we use different writing styles depending on our audience. One important element of style is word choice. You may choose language that is formal or informal. Formal language is more serious and academic, while informal language is more casual and conversational. You should also consider your audience's current understanding of the topic to choose the vocabulary that is the most appropriate for them. Another important element of style is tone. Tone is the attitude or feeling of your writing. To determine the appropriate tone for your audience, consider how you feel about the subject and how you want your audience to feel. So let's look at some examples.
Okay, so we're gonna stop there. Just because that was a little quick and I'm aware of that, once again, just kind of turn to your partner for literally 20, 30 seconds. If you didn't get an answer, let's see if they did, but we still do go over the answers as well. So if you didn't get one, this is your time to get it. I'm glad most of you got it. Look at y'all.
Meaningful?
Yeah, okay, so for style is the way you're writing sounds.
The way of your writing is true.
Yeah, it's true.
All right, so now let's go to, I need to do that.
Before you begin,
Now let's go over these answers to make sure we're all on the same page. So number one, audience is the, Hermione,
Person or group of the people.
who may read your writing, right? So if you didn't get it, it is up here. Number two, knowing your audience can help you determine what they already,
No.
what is
Important.
important to them and how you can make your writing meaningful. And y'all can totally just shout out too right now. That's totally all right. Number three, style is the way your
Writing sounds.
There we go, the way your writing sounds. Number four, true or false. Our word choice varies on our audience. True. And last but not least, number five, tone is the
Attitude or feeling.
of your writing, and it's determined by how
You feel.
and how you want your audience to feel. All right, great job. So now I would like everyone to pull out something to write with, loose leaf paper. You're gonna have your Chromebooks in a second, but you do not need to open them, just have them out on your desk, as well as a copy of our book, The Warmth of Other Suns. I'll give you a little second to do that, but other stuff you do not need on your desk. You can keep the little half sheet though, that's totally fine, like to have on your desk. Okay, so I'm about to go through some kind of, terms and some things that we need to be familiar with before we break out into group work. So as I'm telling you these things, what should you probably be doing? Taking notes. I do not need you to take them as we would normally take them in the annotated bib form, just because it's not really necessary for this type of note taking, and also it would just take a little extra time to set that up. So just take the notes as you would normally. All right? Okay, I want someone to raise their hand and tell me, I just want one opinion. Why do y'all think it's important to keep an audience in mind when we write? Dana.
Because if you think of like they said with the tone, like the words you choose, if you're gonna use certain words, then you need to if you're gonna say oh, my audience is Miss Navarra, then I'm gonna have to use words that I know I would talk to you.
Yes, and that would be different than something you would say to a fellow student, right? Great point. So definitely, and it is actually a bullet point. So I first want to start off with it's important because the reader may actually have never read what you're writing about. Specifically in our class, we are split into 3 different migrants, right? So some of you are only reading Pershing, some of you are only reading Ida, and some of you are only reading George. So if Eli reads George and Michelle reads Pershing, do they ever get to read the other migrant? No. So you have to make sure you include that really effective, not only effective, but just a lot of detail about what you're trying to convey to your reader, because the reader may not know what you're talking about. Also, It helps you, the author, make decisions about what information should be included. So this is kind of what Dana was saying. This one actually, I just put another one up there, the use of language. Let's say we have a children's book. Do you think we would have some really highly elevated language in a children's book? No. That might be more in a journal article or a research paper that we write for one of our classes. But children's books are a little bit more a little bit more basic, you know, they don't have that highly elevated language. And because kids won't really be able to understand what's actually happening. In a children's book, you have more pictures, you have more of that basic language. So I'll give you a little second to write that. Remember, you do not have to write everything on the board. Write what is important to you. Okay, I'm going to move on. All right, so my next question, why do you think it is necessary to state the importance of a quote that you pull out of the text? So that's basically, why do we explain quotes that we pull out of a piece of text? Alexa?
So you're not just repeating what the quote says.
Yes, I do not want a repetition of that quote, right? Whenever we pull out certain quotes from a text that we're reading, we're doing it for a reason, right? We didn't just have it there. We have to further give an analysis or a connection to the claim that we're trying to make. So definitely because of that. And that's what is exactly up here. We pulled the quote out for a reason, so we need to be more specific about why. And if you write anything down today, this is what I would want you to write down. So just because you understand what the quote means, just because you see that connection to your claim, or you see what the paper is trying to convey to the reader, doesn't mean that someone else sees that. Just like the same example with the George Ida Pershing, if Eli pulls something out about George, that he was on the run, would someone from Pershing really understood what that means? No. So even though you may think it's pretty easy to oh, he's running away from something, another person might want to know the context. Why is he running? What happened? What problems did he go through? And I'll give you a second to write that. And I'm going to be passing something around. You will get, if you're in a row, I'm going to give you the copies for your rows. So it's 2 pieces. They're not stapled because I didn't think y'all would want them stapled. So just make sure you keep them together. I'm trying to put them separate so you don't get them confused. Just pass them back. All right, so before I move on to what we're actually going to do today, I want everyone to pull out the worksheet. So you just were handed these 2 different worksheets. I want everyone to flip, it's backwards. I want everyone to flip to, or upside down, to the performance criteria writer checklist. And give me a thumbs up once you got it. Perfect. What do y'all, just looking at it, just at a glance, what do y'all notice about it? It's a checklist.
It's based off of performance.
It's based off of performance, but specifically, what is it doing?
Making sure you have all the parts.
We're
And
required
it's,
to have.
yes, it's what you're required to have, and it's split into, do you notice the different sections? Mm-hmm. Now flip to your rubric, which is on the back. What do you notice about those different sections? They're what?
Graded.
They're not only graded, but they're the same, right? They're the exact same criteria that you are receiving in the writer checklist. So, in this little part, we're actually just really going to focus on the evidence and explanation sections, because this is something that you should be keeping in mind when you are going to be in the group work activity in just a little second. This is what you should be using to basically grade yourself as you write, because at the end up here is going to be grading and it's literally what this says, but in like a grade form. So I really want to make the connection for you guys that, and y'all receive one of these every time you write. So this is really helping you put exactly what you need in each submission that you write. Okay, so we're going to kind of walk through this together of how this should be done. So someone read that first question for evidence. Y'all, somebody can just shout it out. You're fine.
Is my evidence specific to the prompt?
Is my evidence specific to the prompt? Someone read the next one.
Is my evidence correctly cited?
Is my evidence correctly cited? And someone read the explanation.
Do I properly explain my evidence by establishing the connection and/or analysis?
Do I properly explain my evidence by establishing the connection and or analysis? So we're about to walk through that, okay? All right, so Jada, would you mind reading this quote for me?
Over the course of 6 decades, some 6 million black Southerners left the land of their forefathers and formed out across the country for an uncertain existence in nearly every other corner of America. Wilkerson 9.
Thank you so much. So, does this quote look familiar to you guys?
Yes.
This is a quote that many of you used in your first section assessment because that question prompt was, what was the definition of the Great Migration? This is the quote I would have picked out for sure. But we noticed some struggles with the introduction of this quote as well as the explanation of this quote. So now I'm going to ask you to help me introduce this quote. So I'm going to give everyone a minute to think. Even if you have a perfect introduction in your head right now, I still want everyone to give about a minute to think. How can I introduce this quote to where it makes sense to my reader? So what things I should include, things like title, author, like some different introduction techniques. What should I not do in the introduction? I shouldn't say on page 9 or what?
Wilkerson says.
Wilkerson says, right? We need to add some variety, okay? So now everyone take a minute to think about how I can introduce this quote. I'm going to ask for 2 volunteers. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, if you are comfortable enough to give me how I can introduce this quote, please raise your hand. And I would like 2 volunteers. Madison, I saw your hand go up first.
In the warmth of other suns, Isabel Wilkerson defines the Great Migration as.
That is beautiful. Isabel Wilkerson defines, that's so different than saying says, right? Oh, that's supposed to be capital. The Great Migration as, and then we would drop our quote, correct? So I abbreviated Warmth of Other Suns just because it's such a long title. But what do you notice about this introduction? What kind of things does it give me?
The title and the author. The background.
Title, author, background. And how many times have we told you that's what we want in our introductions? Many, million times, right? Does anyone have anything different? Dana?
You could say the Great Migration is described as, and
Yeah.
then put, skip kind of like the first sentence and put some 6 million black Southerners, and then the rest of it.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because there's always some different ways that we can incorporate our quotes. I wouldn't have to take this word for word, right? I could omit some words. I can take some out or even add some in if we do it the MLA way. But I don't have to include every single part of this quote because some of it isn't relevant, right? Great job. And this example is probably one that we would use first in our paper because it sets up the title, the author. But if we were to put this one in the end or another paragraph, that would work perfectly. So great job. Now we're going to do it one more time, but I'm going to ask you to explain the quote. What should the explanation not do? Repeat. And it also should not say, this quote says, or this quote shows, right? Okay, so I'm going to give everyone another minute to think. I'm going to ask for 2 volunteers that are not Madison and Dana, since they gave it to me already. So now I will ask for 2 volunteers, and I'm going to write it on the board, or I might have to abbreviate some words just because it's, a little longer. Alexis and then Taylor, okay?
I said, Black Southerners left the South and went to non-Southern states for a better quality of life than they had under the living conditions of Jim Crow.
Wow. Repeat it again.
Black Southerners left the South and went to non-Southern states for a better quality of life than they had under the control of Jim Crow.
I'm going to say went to the North. Repeat what it says after the North.
For a better quality of life than they had under the control of Jim Crow.
And I'm just going to put ... That was great. What did she do? She didn't just repeat it. What else? What did she do? Yeah, she explained why they left. She made like another connection to the Jim Crow laws, right? Great job. All right, Taylor, tell me what you were thinking.
I said the movement of these African Americans ultimately changed the African American mindset and the American demographics.
Wow, y'all are doing so great. Tell me again. The movement of African Americans
ultimately changed the African American mindset and the American demographics.
That is beautiful. And the demographics. I wanted to write it up here so that whenever you're doing group work, you can see. I know some of it's abbreviated, but that's just what we're going to have to do. So tell me, somebody, what you noticed in Taylor's example. What did she bring out? Josh.
The shift of the population, basically.
Yes, and haven't we already wrote an exit ticket on basically the population change? So Taylor not only connected it to something we did in a previous class, but the pages 8 through 15, where this quote came from, talks strictly about population change, right? So great job, Taylor. You're going to get some shout-out points, or actually the people who are volunteering are definitely going to get some extra shout-out points, okay? All right, so now we're going to get to, and that was our writing checklist, we're going to get to our fun part, which is stage 1 of the group work activity. So everyone should open their Chromebooks, go to your email, and pull out the evidence collection catalog Google form. You should be able to type evidence in, or even pretest. I have it up here if you need to see how to spell anything. And it should just be in your Gmail history. So I'll give everyone a second to find that. All right, so now what you're going to do is you're going to pick a partner from your migrant group. So the groups that you are sitting in now, just pick a partner in the area that you're in. Y'all are perfectly even, so partner up. But I believe my 2 groups right here, I'm going to have one group of 3 in each, okay? And that's totally all right, because just the numbers didn't work out perfectly. So what you're going to do together, y'all listen to this real quick. You're going to pick 2 good examples from your evidence collection catalog. How many did you have to get on there? 3. So how many should you have together total? 6. Unless you're working in 3, but that's okay. You'll just have more to choose from. So you're going to pick 2 good examples. Let me move this out the way. From your evidence collection catalog. And Eli, will you hold up that first sheet right there that you have? And everyone see this sheet? Mm-hmm. You are going to write the 2 good examples that you choose on that front sheet. Okay? So the first part of this group work is pretty straightforward. You're just with a partner. You're going to evaluate the evidence and the explanations that you have already chosen. You've already done this so that you can evaluate what's good and what's bad. So if Eli and Cassie work together, Eli might have 2 great examples, and Cassie's like, we should just use yours. Like, he did a good job, I'm just ready to use it. That's totally okay. Like, you're probably going to have the similar evidence and explanations. So you want to have any questions? Yes. Okay, I can get there. I'll get you in 1 second. Anyone have any questions about the actual group activity?
Do we use explanation that we use going here?
So, if your explanations, you want to, kind of up them a little bit. If maybe you didn't receive your full credit on your explanations, like when I graded them, then this would be your time to kind of edit and like fix them with your partner. Does that make sense? Also, your evidence is also already in front of you. So if you want to just start the quote out in your evidence so that you don't waste so much time writing that out, I really want y'all to focus on the explanations. Any additional questions? All right, I'm starting the timer. You have 13 minutes, and then we will move on to the next part.
So, I think that this
Type in. Oh, you got it. Ooh, good idea. Yes. Ella just brought up something great. If y'all feel the need to introduce your quotes now so you don't have to later, I would definitely do that. Thank you, Ella. So how did y'all manage to make your evidence? Full explanations, I'm sorry. One-on-one?
So, I have this with a good explanation.
Okay.
So like do this explanation.
Explains.
What is the, let me see the quote.
We could buy skates, but we can buy soccer.
And is that directly like from Pershing? Like,
Yes. that
see,
is
I'm
his-
glad you have like migrant specific evidence, because that's what I
was
really.
talking about, like, his life, like his childhood, growing up in life.
Yes, perfect, Ella. What was your quote that you're choosing? And that's another one, directly towards Pershing. Yeah, these two did a great job. They have migrant-specific evidence, right? Great job. Yes, it was migrant specific, but you know, sometimes people just don't. They tell me which ones you've chosen. Y'all had a little bit more of a selection. Okay, so the one about his father?
Yeah,
Perfect. Why did y'all choose that one?
because it represented the generation.
So like it's just a constant
Yeah,
cycle.
and this is like final straw.
And do y'all talk about this in your explanation?
Yeah.
Perfect. Great job. Which ones have you two chosen?
We're doing her first, and then what evidence and
Okay.
explanation. We're doing live.
Perfect. I really like this quote. I like that one. How are y'all doing? Good? Which quotes did you choose? Okay. And that's specific to George.
Because it said that George Strong left all he knew because he was dying. We were saying that George chose really because he knew when he about the support and we brought each other down. And the reason what did you say was because he's valedictorian. What did you say for your
Yes, that he couldn't get in the South. And make sure you make that connection. Like he wasn't able to receive what he should have received in the South, so he left. Perfect. Great job. Make sure that last sentence, I think it's like a little fragment, to make sure you add, like, he has or he had more opportunities. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Are you connected? Like, so, and he has more opportunities. Do you get what I'm saying?
We did it on purpose.
Okay, so it's not like just add another zero to make it a great job, girls. All right, my group of three. I know y'all had a good amount of evidence. So how did y'all narrow it down to?
Many African Americans but we could say
Okay, is that first quote from George's pages, or is that more of a generic quote? I think it's more of like a broader quote. So that's what just what I was about to say. Make sure you connect it to George in the explanation. Definitely because y'all are, I know you are capable of that. I want to see that connection in the analysis. Okay. I'm thinking this all kind of got you. Yes, I'm going to try to make it over there.
so I was like
Yes.
okay so Persian but they ended up
No, you can change it up. Yes, you don't have to say it every single time.
in the
Y'all doing okay?
South.
No, you do not have to, like, that was just a suggestion so that, because in a minute you're going to write it all together, and if you wanted to already just go ahead and do it, more than welcome. All right, we have about 5 minutes remaining. You should be writing at, like, the second evidence and second explanation,
like something like that.
but most of you are perfectly on target.
So
Pershing left the South in order to get
Y'all are doing
better
great.
opportunities to practice
Just
medicine
trying to
because
get
he wasn't
to this
allowed
part.
to connect it as like to what he like connect it to the medicine. If you want to connect it to like him being the surgeon, yeah, because he couldn't like he had to make makeshift like hospitals. Well, his father did, but he was following like in his footsteps. So like connect it to that and still like because it's kind of just like copying what the quote says. So just connect it to his practices and why he couldn't practice in the South, but that's why he had to leave the South. Because he was smart enough to like realize that I want to be this, but I can't do it in the South.
And he was able to realize that, right, Ella?
Yes.
He's smart enough to know.
And that's what the quote is like reaching across.
Great job, Ella. Yes.
So you said calculate smart students
Uh-huh.
so we just this is a general statement.
Yes.
Having more opportunities we don't have to
So-
how would I do it as like a general statement for migrants, not just
So if you wanted to relate it to like other migrants, you can say, excuse me, you could be like, in more broader terms, or speaking of like all migrants in general, the choice of having more opportunities and chances is a pull factor for migrating, right? Like just kind of set it up in the beginning, like in more broad terms, or more generalized terms, you know, those kind of words.
For my explanation, I would have said,
yeah, so I would just I would clarify this, right? So when you
Yes,
said
I'm
not
coming.
registering that it was calling people who had suffered, specifically highlighted that they wanted to protest against the treatment they received.
If you are kind of like running a little low on time and you just want to get to this part, that's what I would do right now, because in this, when you write, you're going to add those. Yes, yes. All right, we have about 3 minutes remaining. I think most of us are getting pretty much finished, so great job.
So what is that?
You are finished? Let me see what you got. I'm going to really read those explanations.
In more general terms, having more opportunities.
I like that you make this connection to shared copying too, because that was like such an important part of him. Like y'all just did such a great job at just elevating the quote.
Yeah, and here he was talking about how it influences.
All right, so our timer is finished. If for some reason you did not get to finish in that time, the next section is a little longer than that, so if you have to like make some last minute changes, that would be your time to do so, but I'm going to give the next direction because pretty much everyone in the groups are finished. So let me switch that slide. Oh, okay. Well, sorry guys. Let me just go do this. Okay. So, everyone should have received a color card, correct? Hold that card up. I want everyone to make sure that they are able, sorry Josh, I should have just given it to you. Everyone has received one, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now we're going to do a switch. And you're going to move to groups of 3. Those groups of 3 are going to consist of a George, an Ida, and a Pershing. I do have 2 kind of outliers in this situation, so you're just going to go to the group and with like near you, and they're just going to have an extra Pershing and extra George, okay? Just for this switch, it's just a little, the numbers are a little out. So if you've noticed on the back of the sheet that you just wrote on, so you should have filled this out, everything's all fine, and if you flip to the back, you're going to now be putting everything together for your final like produced paragraph. So you should probably add some type of introduction. You should add some transitions from quote to quote. You know, and then the bulk of the paper though is already finished, right? You've already written this out. You've talked together about how you can explain your quotes just perfectly. So that part is pretty much already done. But what I really want you to focus on is like the introduction and transition. But there's one additional question that's going to act as your kind of significant sentence Why do we include the statements of significance in our papers? Why do we have that?
To tie it all together.
Tie it all together, and I think someone said it, what'd you say? Connect it to everything else. Perfect. So the sentence that I want you to, like the question I want you to write for that is, how can this compare to one of the other migrants? So you're in a group with the other migrants. So you should have conversations, all three of you, and say, okay, Ida and Pershing connects like this. You have to just compare to at least one, but I do want to challenge a few of you to connect to all three. Like you would be like, okay, Pershing and Ida have this in common, this is how they connect. Or George and Pershing have this in common, this is how they connect. So that's going to act as your significant statement in this paragraph. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. So you're taking what you already wrote on here, you're adding your introduction, your conclusion, everything that you need, but that main part I want y'all to focus on is, how can your migrant connect to at least one of the other migrants? Okay? I'm going to show you where the colors are, and then I'm going to ask you to switch. So just hold tight right here. Raise your hand if you have a orange card. Orange, you are going to be in the front. Okay? Yellow card. Yellow, hold it high and proud. Okay. Yellow is over here, so you don't think you really have to move much. Pink cards, raise up. Pink's right here. Purple, raise them up. Purple is right here. I have a brown and a gray, but you're just going to stay by the group for right now, because that's going to come into the next switch. Okay? That makes sense? Okay. And then I think I have a blue and a green. Yes, you're going to join with this group. Okay? I have a green and a blue. Does everyone know where they're moving to? Yes, yellow is over here. Thank you. Bring your papers, bring what you will need to complete this assignment. So you'll probably need your Chromebook, your paper, and probably your, well, you can just leave the copy of the book there. So get up, move. All right, y'all are all in your places. You got it, Jamaria? Good. So now I'm going to start the timer. A lot of it will be writing and making sure your paragraph is neat and organized, but you are using each other to produce that paragraph. But I should hear conversations about, how do your migrants connect, okay? You have 16 minutes to write this, so make sure you're using your time, because it is a lot of writing. All right? All right, we have about 12 minutes. If you haven't begun writing, I suggest you do so now so that you can have your paragraph ready. Yeah. Yes, that's your significance. And if you need to, like, just because of like time's sake, if you needed to like for this part, like kind of just abbreviate a little bit, I'm not gonna be opposed to that because it is so much writing. But that connection is your significant statement. Yes. Perfect.
So in the work of episode, like years ago, she.
Is it with this first quote?
Yeah. She introduces us
To, is this about Pershing?
Yeah.
You can say, like, she explains that Pershing and then, like, talk about the situation right here. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're just making like a paragraph.
Hey guys, I'm gonna make a little bit of an adjustment because I know it's a lot of writing for you guys. So y'all listen up just real quick. Because it is so much writing and y'all are just doing so great with like really putting those explanations in there, if you feel like you are gonna run out of time with putting that final paragraph together, just go in and like for your evidence 1 and evidence 2, it's already written on the front of your paper, right? Like you can just write in it and you don't have to rewrite those quotes, okay? Because I want to make sure that you have your explanations and that connection/significance written, okay? Do we think we can get it done in that time frame? Yeah. I think so. Okay. It's extremely loud. All right, I need everyone's attention. We have one more switch that we're going to do. So the color-coded cards are going to come into play one more time. because we are going to do a peer review little assessment for each other. So, remember this sheet that we looked at in the beginning of the lesson, right? I want everyone to flip to this side. This side of the sheet. If you're still kind of finishing up, just pay attention to this real quick, so I don't want anyone to be confused. We shouldn't be writing right now. So pull this out. So what are my sections that you're going to be grading your peers on?
Response, evidence, significance, grammar, and grammar.
Perfect. So you're obviously going to really take into consideration that evidence, explanation, and significance, which is the connection sentence, right? I really want y'all to focus on those because those really make up your response as a whole. That's what you should be grading last, is on a whole scale, combining all these different factors is the response of 3, a 2, a 1, or a 0. As you can see also, I have it perfectly laid out for you with how you should grade your person. So a 3 is the student answers both questions and the response is organized. Those questions are on the final draft paper. It was, what was your migrant's life like in the South and how did it influence them to migrate? So we're very familiar with those questions. So I have exactly how you should score your peer based on what you see in their paper. But I really want y'all to focus on definitely the middle 3 categories. And if you refer to this as you were writing like I asked you to, then you should have at least received like a 2, 3 on your grade. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so we have one more switch that we're doing. As you can see, I don't know if y'all can see because of this, I have colors that go together. Does everyone see that? So I don't believe I have a red and a black, but I do have a pink and a purple. So pink and purple, y'all are sitting right by each other. You would just switch with someone. If you're a purple, you would switch with a pink, pink with a purple. Does that make sense? Same with orange and yellow, you would just switch the colors. Same with blue and green, switch the colors. And then I have one brown and one gray, y'all would switch with each other, okay? So you would just move over and that's how you would be peer reviewed. I want everyone to listen real quick. I'm asking you to grade your person, right? Your partner or classmate. Please be nice, right? Even if you think it's terrible, it's not terrible because y'all are all great. But even if you think, I don't think they did so well, still be positive with your language. Make those comments still, but just be nice, right? We're not going to try to hurt anyone's feelings. I want everyone to have positive language. I'm going to give you about 7-8 minutes to actually peer review. It shouldn't take you too long because it's just a paragraph. And then I'm going to come back in and give you an additional 2 minutes to actually talk with your partner about what you notice in their paper. So for the first 7 minutes or so, 8 minutes, I shouldn't really hear any discussion until I ask you to talk with your partner. Okay? So you're going to write your name on your peer review rubric. And let's say Ella and Josh work together. So Ella would write her name on her paper and Josh's name right here. You're not switching this paper, you're only switching the final paragraph. So you're using just the copy I gave you. Does anyone have any questions? Any questions? All right, go. Remember, I shouldn't hear any talking through this part. So switch your papers around the people around you. Okay, it looks like most of you are done. So you may switch with your partner now. Talk about those comments. Talk about why you gave them a 2, a 1, a 3. Go ahead. Oops, sorry, Jake.
Okay,
Somebody commenting? Sorry. Yes, of course, of course.
just connecting to each other. Just like
related, explained why they related to each other a little bit better, not just like George did this, I did this, but I know you weren't done, so you could have been getting there. So like
about just leading and when I could have just put the important facts. Okay. So I get that part.
Yeah.
But you did great.
Thank you.
It's not surprising, but still, you did great.
Thanks.
You should be. How did you do, Cassie? If we have some time at the end, I'm going to try to read some, but if not, we'll definitely look at some next class.
Yeah, she said.
It's okay, but I think we did fine within like the time frame that I've given. Something that I've noticed, like definitely I've missed, is that like when we ask them to write, sometimes students can't write in the time frame that we're giving them. And but we're trying to push that like you need to write in this time, right? Taking a 90-minute block to write a paragraph is a little too much time. So we're trying to really push that structure with y'all. Because like in like leap tests or ACT tests, you are timed, right?
The last one.
All right, about 1 more minute to talk about those comments. All right, so it seems like the class is pretty much done discussing, and I heard some really great feedback from your partners, and I also heard some just really great positive feedback. Eli talked amazingly about his partner, about how well Cassie did on her writing, and if I have some time at the end, I really want to see if we can read that, okay? If you're comfortable with that, Cassie. Yes? Okay. All right, so I just kind of want to revisit what we did today. So, first, we evaluated the evidence collection catalog. And what did we really specifically work on in the evidence collection catalog? Our migrant and really making sure those explanations are top-notch, right? We also worked with other migrant groups to write a response to the prompt. And what did I want y'all to do with your other migrant groups? Make a connection. And also, we peer-reviewed our papers. We got to see something we did well on, as well as things that we may need to work on. So if you notice in Google Classroom, you should have an exit ticket Google form. So these questions are asking them really just kind of, it's a reflection. When grading your peers' work, what is one thing that stood out? When grading your peers' work, what's something that needed to work on? These do not have to be long. This is just what you're thinking. And also, how can this lesson be applicable to the real world? And in a few minutes, I'm going to ask you to tell me at least one question you have after reviewing the other migrants. Like, yes, you're typing it, but that's the last thing I want to end with is how can this connect to one of the other migrants? So make sure you have that in your head ready to go. All right, so I'm going to ask a few of you to multitask here. So if you're not good at that, it's okay. But if you were to answer the question already about a question that you have after reviewing the other migrants, does anyone have any questions that they would like to know for the future? Not about their migrant that you have right now, but one of the other migrants. Does anyone have a question they would like answered? Wow. I think I saw your hand go up first.
I have a question about Ida.
What is the question?
When she finally migrated, what did she achieve? What kind of opportunities did she receive? What, made that choice of migrating good and positive for her?
I like that question. And we're going to try to get these answered for you when, in classes to come. Lulu, I saw your hand go up as well.
Yeah, I also said Ida. I want to know, what her whereabouts were and, if she ever gets to be successful.
Great job, y'all. Dana.
So I was asking about Ida too, but
y'all love Ida, don't
you? It's with her how she was raised was different from how she raised her children in the North, and how that affected how her kids grew up.
I like that. Great job. All right, Eli. And I'm not really going too far into how much I like it, just because I have so many that want to tell their question.
Mine was about Robert. So when he left for the South for that job opportunity because he was studying medicine.
Mm-hmm.
What was his thought process with going into the North? Did he know what was?
So you mean maybe emotions? Was he scared? Was he ready? Stuff like that?
Emotions, but mainly what he was thinking that would change in the North.
Great job, Eli. Miney.
My question is for George. Like, did he eventually get past the invisible laws?
Okay.
Yeah.
Was he able to overcome? Perfect. So I have one question from over here. Anisha.
Okay, mine was for George. Like, okay, it's funny about him graduating like valedictorian and stuff. But what did you really go to college for? Because I know, like, when he was telling his father, he didn't really have a mindset of why he was going to college. He just really wanted to go.
Perfect. Y'all had some amazing questions, and I hope in a future class we'll be able to answer it. I had Eli tell me how amazing Cassie did, so if she would like to read that to wrap us up, and then we will be finished for today. So Cassie, would you mind reading it? Do you have the copy in front of you? Yes. Okay. And just make sure you speak up.
Miss Roman, you're MRS, right?
Yes. You may go.
There are many things that force migrants from southern states. Adversities like the caste system, Jim Crow laws, and the overall issue of segregation. In the South, a migrant named George Starling Ford faced many challenges that pursued him to the north. In The Warmth of Other Sound, Isabel Wilkerson describes it as George Starling left all human because he would have died if he had stayed. With George's decision to migrate was almost completely rational. There were issues surrounding his nature of being colored. If he had stayed, the cycle of torment would have continued. Being that he came from a family of sharecroppers, he would have always ended up owing the white man of the field. This led to George being forced out of the South. Not only did African Americans face harsh treatments of white Americans, they had to worry about the treatment of their own. Wilkerson described
Y'all wait to pack up or anything. Keep going.
Wilkerson described this as it comes back to him one image after another, how Jim Crow had a way of tying everyone in.
And you have your connection. You want to read that?
Other migrants that experienced this would have been Robert and Ida. Ida and George alike migrated by force. George was on the run, and Ida left for family. Robert and George alike both feared lynching. Any African American boy that was in the South had to fear being punished for crimes that they might have done.
I got chills. Can we give her a clap? That was just great. All right, guys, I'm so proud of you. Thank you for everything today.